Evergrande, the Chinese developer, is going bankrupt. What does that mean for the Americans and for our real estate environment? Hi, welcome to Real Estate Divas. I'm Kristen Gerst here with my fabulous co-host, Jer'Leigh Thompson, and we're discussing Evergrande, which is a Chinese real estate developer.
Largest in the world.
Going out of business most likely in what, tomorrow?
Well, defaulting on their loans for the most part, unless I think everybody's kind of on the edge of their seat waiting to see if the government steps in to bail them out.
Well, and this is being equated to Lehman Brothers in
Yeah.
the United States.
Bigger than Lehman Brothers for China, not for, nationwide and us, but for China, definitely bigger than Lehman Brothers.
So they've got a debt mounting at about $300 billion. And they owe, my gosh, something like they've got to come up with about what, 84 million?
84.
$84
That's their
million.
payment.
That's their payment.
The payment on that debt.
Their interest payment.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's earth-shattering, unfortunately, for China. But, I guess over this last year, they just kept building these empty apartment complexes, nobody there to fill them. What were we talking about earlier? Like empty cities, ghost cities?
Ghost cities. Yeah, these crazy ghost cities where there are Chinese citizens who own these apartments, but there's nobody in these cities to live there, work there, do anything there. So they just kind of sit empty.
It's so crazy to me.
A lot of them never finished.
Yeah, a lot of them never finished. Actually, not that it's related, but then I just saw a video of a place like that, all these castles right next to each other in Turkey. They did the kind of the same thing, smaller scale, but just empty cities.
But isn't that kind of fraudulent? If you just have shells of these places up, you've sold them all.
Kinda.
But then you never, what happened?
I'm thinking, check.
Hey,
is this fraudulent? Yeah.
What happens to this guy?
I don't know.
He's got a net worth of almost $11 billion. A personal net worth.
Yeah.
Not his business. And if you effectively take down the financial markets of China. What does the Chinese government do to you?
I don't even want to know.
I think it's very, very bad.
I think I heard the owner of the company got paid $3 to $5 billion in dividends since 2019.
Yes. Yeah.
Billions.
He's paid himself that. So what do you do to that guy?
Oh, yeah.
In China?
In China.
Easy.
In the United States, okay, you go to jail. It's not fun jail. They might send you to federal prison.
Yeah.
But in China, they do bad things to you there.
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy, and it's what were we talking about? Like the whole it's going to affect. They say it's going to affect the middle class the most.
1.5 million Chinese, 1.5 million have put deposits down on these properties that are not done. And
won't be done.
And won't be done, and he can't finish. And then they can't sell. 1.5 million. So that's 1.5.
And I wonder what that is per house. It's substantial. I know when we go to build a home, you're putting down $50,000. Not everybody's got $50,000 laying around.
But this is the emerging Chinese middle class.
Yeah.
The emerging middle class, meaning that they've taken their life savings.
And probably their parents' life savings. We're talking generational to put it together and purchase something.
And they've purchased this real estate and it's not done and it's worthless. It's just money evaporated and gone. So what is that going to do? And there's now the question, Evergrande is the largest, but there's another apparently 10 behind it that have questionable assets on their books and are also in a lot of trouble, financial trouble.
In
China, which all of those add up to about 3 times the size of Evergrande.
Wow.
I don't know, it's 2.5, 3 times.
That's crazy. Well, and I mean, I know that there's like, I think everybody's kind of sitting on pins and needles. One, here we are, pandemic, coming out of a pandemic. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen to our financial market? Is this a bubble? What's, there's so many questions out there, and everybody trying to, sure their bets and figure out what's my next move. And then you've got this happening.
Well,
in
because
China?
we are a global economy now.
Absolutely.
Anything that happens in any other major economy is going to affect us, and we'll feel it.
It's definitely a ripple effect. There's no way that something like that does not affect the rest of the world. It's too ginormous.
Well, think about all the Chinese investment money that we have going all around the globe. That probably dries up. I mean, it's got to take the wind out of the sails at least.
Yeah.
So again, there's a lot of different opinions floating out there. I've read a couple different things. Barclays is not really going, is it going to take down other world economies?
Yeah, the New York, I think it was the New York Post that I was reading in that said the same thing. They're like, okay, it will affect us. There's going to be residual, obviously, because of the global economy, but it's not going to take us all down. What was it that you were saying that from 2000, wasn't it 2008 that...
Barclays they said, we don't want to import your cancer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure there's a little bit of that going on, but we're already integrated. We're already, financially integrated with all of this stocks in different,
I'd be interested to know how many investment banks, large investment banks, are invested in Evergrande and what their holdings look like. Because if they're going under, how about, UBS, Royal Bank of Scotland, Credit Suisse, Goldman Sachs, what amount of investment do those banks hold? Yeah. And Barclays, I would have to imagine, would probably be the substantial investment banker, backing investment into them, just because Evergrande is based in Hong Kong, which used to be owned by the British until 1999. So I believe there's still a lot.
I'm like, you got more history than I do.
There's still a lot of British expats over there, and so there's a lot of British influence in Hong Kong.
Well, I mean, and a great point that Ryan made before the show is just like how he had heard what did you hear? It'll affect our middle class.
Yeah, because of pension funds.
Pension funds.
Yeah,
because they were considered safe bets. I mean, China, safe.
Well, the first thing that I saw when I just, I'm like, oh yeah, we'll see what's going on. The first thing that popped up was a story about how it's going to affect Australians' iron ore market and exports.
Well, because they're taking, you're building like that? Are you freaking kidding me?
That's
when you're
right.
talking about the supplies and demands, it's kind of like the oil and gas industry in the same, aspect of if that demand is no longer there,
so
and here we've been doing it.
Building comes to a halt.
Yeah.
All of those exports,
production.
All of those exports of building materials goes away.
Yeah. Insane. It's just insane. I'd be interested to know, what other people think. If y'all have any comments or something on this, because it's mind-blowing.
What about the U.S. dollar?
Not only...
Does it make it...
because China's stock is going
down? Does that make us go up? I don't know.
Or is it bring the whole ship down?
And do we want it to go up any further than inflation? That's already starting
a factor. It's
to
crazy.
Affect us.
And then just the amount of import that we do out of China. Like, how is that going to affect it? Because now it's affecting everybody. It just bleeds into everything.
Right.
Every industry, everything. When you have a company that big, which is why whenever our banks were failing, when we had 2008 and our government came in, and people were on opposite ends of the discussion when it came to that. Should the government come in, and should they save the day? Should they bail them out? Does that teach anybody a lesson? Does that help our economy? I know they're sitting over there thinking the same thing.
On whether they should bail this out? Well, do you bail them out and then you have how many behind it?
Exactly.
Because if you've got another 10 developers behind it that are also in trouble, are you expected to bail them out? And then what does that look like?
Yeah. And where do you draw the line?
So the other issue is just for the Chinese population and Chinese people as a whole. Because most of the backing, financial backing by this are going to be, most of these investments are held by Chinese banks. If you start having mass bank failure and all of a sudden people's money is gone.
Yeah, there's a run.
That leads to civil unrest. And what does that mean for the Chinese government? It's not like they're on solid ground anyways. They are it's definitely in Hong Kong and Taiwan, discussing Hong Kong and Taiwan. But when you're talking about mainland China, there's a lot of unrest anyways.
Well, and this, to go back to, what we were talking about as far as the middle class losing basically everything they've got, on these houses that they put money down on, that they put these deposits on, and here now they're basically desolate. They're back to square one, and the government is who pushed them to home ownership, who said, really, this is the way for generational wealth, which is what we talk about all the time here, and it is a tool for that. But if you've got a shady builder taking all the cash and building right. And so, that's definitely going to create a hostile environment and millions of people that are going to be like, well, then we're coming after ours.
China's also got another interesting, they're kind of coming into this perfect storm, so it'll be interesting to see how they come out of it. But China's one-child policy, that has now been, rethought because they've got a declining population.
Mm-hmm.
And a very serious declining population, so that they don't, as their elderly population
dies off,
they really don't have enough people to fill jobs
or these fake houses.
These
ghost towns. The ghost towns just blows my mind. Like, I just don't even get that.
I don't either. I don't understand who these people are to be buying these, because there's citizens buying them with cash. I have to imagine.
Yeah, but I don't understand the backing behind it. That's what you're just going to go and create this development. That's like go 50 miles south of here. That's not towards Waco. We're going towards the center, where there's freaking nothing.
Right.
Of Texas. We're going to go out there in the middle of the boonies. And then all of a sudden, we're going to build a 12-story sky-rise building and all of this subdivision. There's nobody out there. There's no commerce out there.
Right.
Why would you finance that?
And yet they are being financed.
I know.
And there's nothing going on there.
There's so much. Well, and also I glaze over. Exactly. I need some money.
I need an advocate to get me $350 billion in debt.
Right.
Jeez.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Their financial advisor, accountant guy. What's his number or her number, whatever.
Exactly. Approve me. I've got some great ideas.
I know. Give me $100,000. It's nothing.
It's nothing.
It's nothing.
That's pennies, baby.
Yeah.
Lehman Brothers was allowed to fail only after so many others were bailed out.
Yep.
Only after. And really, they probably would have been bailed out had, I'm spacing on it, but the largest insurance company, not gone under as well, around the same time, gotten into trouble.
I think with that, they needed at least one scapegoat.
Yeah, they needed somebody to pay the price.
And you think they just didn't like Dick Folds? So
you were last in line. They're like, okay, where do we cut it off? And that's kind of like what you're talking about here. You've got the biggest one, they're failing. You got 10 behind them. Where do you cut it off? If you're going to bail them out, where do we cut it off? We've only got so much that we can do. And now all of our, there's a large population that's going, no, I have to pay my debt. Why don't they have to pay their, there are penalties. I don't get bailed out. But you also.
Well, I'm thinking,
my hands are flying.
you know, I'm thinking even about just all of these investment bankers, these U.S. investment bankers from failed banks, you know, they still left. They didn't go to jail. I think one guy went to jail from the mortgage market.
It's all a slap on the wrist.
You know, one guy went to jail. Everybody else got to keep their
money,
their golden parachutes.
Yeah.
They golden parachuted out. They got to keep it all. You know, I don't know. I think we're going to see something quite different in China.
I would not doubt it. Would not doubt it.
I would argue I agree with you, but I don't think it'll be visible.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say it's going to be behind closed doors for sure.
I think people will be disappeared.
Yeah, be disappeared.
And the problem will
there will be disappearances
if they do bail out. What does that mean for the world economy? Because we can't be the only ones throwing money to the tune of trillions of dollars at a problem, which is what we're doing and repeatedly doing and talking about doing further. I know that, you know, Republicans have agreed to what, 1 trillion, Democrats want 3.5 trillion. It's going to be somewhere around there. We start doing that and then having this going on in China. What does this do? Does it balance?
That's the question.
Does it's uncharted waters. So
I feel like that's all this last 2 years has been is uncharted water. I'm like, what has been normal?
You know what's great though is we really haven't seen some I mean, I think we're now going to start paying the piper.
We haven't seen
I'm like,
where
what?
the fuck have you been?
Come on, a financial meltdown and collapse. We haven't seen it.
Yeah.
In fact, we're at a labor shortage.
Yeah.
You know, we still are, and I guess the jobs numbers came back and they weren't very good, but still, you know, it hasn't been that financial collapse and catastrophe that it really seemed like it was going to be a year and a half ago. And maybe we haven't seen it yet.
I would argue it has. It's just the people that it affected the most don't have a good publicist.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, and that's probably fair.
That's probably fair.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They got wiped out.
Out. Exactly.
Because they're not allowed to work, but yet other people are.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's a very good point.
Yep. And some industries were deemed, you know, pertinent to society. Others were not, you know. So, yeah. I don't know. It's
going to be interesting to watch. My guess, I guess that the Chinese government is not going to bail them out.
As far as real estate goes, what do you think? What effect do you think it has on real estate, if at all?
Well, I mean, I feel like, granted, there's a lot of goods that we make here, right? But there's a lot of stuff we import from China for real estate. And we thought we were seeing inflation. We thought there were delays.
That's going to be huge now.
Yeah. I mean, just like we just mentioned with Australia and, you know.
Because if he goes out of business, right, he's not going to pay any of his purchase orders.
Yeah.
So then you've got all of these companies that might not be able to weather that storm because
they can't pay their employees. They can't pay for their goods. They can't pay to ship it. They can't fill the orders that have already been. I mean, it is a massive trickle down.
So what does that do to here? I would say it probably takes a lot of Chinese investors out of the market, because if what they've been told for 20 years by their government is go invest in real estate, it's the way to become uber wealthy, and this is, you know, this will get you, you know, into the middle class, and this is now their lesson that they've learned from it. I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be like, I'm not investing in real estate ever again.
I just saw a segment Roger Seeley did, you know, local real estate broker on Fox News, and this is not about Evergrande, but just, hey, you had all these product shortages for the past year.
Yep.
Now that product is coming back, do you think prices will come down? He said, no.
No.
Prices are here to stay. I don't think there's a crash. I don't think there's a correction. I think even if you do have an influx of material, the price is set, and that's what it's going to be.
I'm going to tell you. So, to that point, when like in the roofing industry, whenever there's a huge storm or whatever, there's a huge storm. Well, nobody ever has the production ready for the huge storm, and then all of a sudden, all this material comes in. So when you're on a small scale, when you're originally going to do a bid, you're like, if you don't commit today, prices may change, they're going up, and when they do go up, they won't come back down. And they never come back down, you know, and there's always an adjustment. Every single time there's a storm, prices and materials for that sort of thing go up.
Well, but now it's like we've got a lot of perfect storms all hitting at the same time.
Absolutely.
All around the globe. And I think it's hard to hide from the storm forever.
Yeah. Well, and especially when you're talking it's one thing when it's like one segment, it's one country, but it just is
right.
So widespread,
right.
You know, and this is huge. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just sitting here dumbfounded.
That we might be watching the collapse of the Chinese financial market. Although, you know, I remember back in 2008 and I thought we were watching the collapse of Rome.
Yeah, true. But it does come back. It's just that middle ground of what you do in the meantime. You know, I mean, everything's cyclical. I try to stick with that.
Here's something also to consider, and I'm going to say something outrageous, but it's just for thought, is we think of things in Western terms. Like before you said, how many people have deposits on houses?
1.5 million.
Okay.
With just that developer.
So just think of this way. Is it easy, and I'm going to say something that's outrageous, is it easier for them to pay off the debt or disappear 1.5 million people?
Yeah.
I don't think that will ever happen.
Yeah.
But that's closer to what their thinking would be than what we would, because we would never fathom be able to do that.
Yeah.
No, but you're right. I mean, well, and then
it's different culture.
The rest of Chinese society, are they going to revolt against the government when they suspect that that's going on? I mean, at a certain point.
Yeah.
Although you don't want to end up in a concentration camp.
Yeah, but then it's also, you go back to the thought process, and I don't know. I don't know what the environment is over there. I've never been to China. It's been on my bucket list. But right. The thought process of, I know what I do is, I think if we're all speeding, we're not going to get pulled over, you know? And so if we all do it, like, let's all do it. And, you know, some of us might get caught, but not all of us.
The reason I bring that up, though, is because you could argue that the only reason Russia was able to stay in World War II is because they allowed 26 million to die of starvation. We would never do that in America, hopefully.
Hopefully.
But, you know, different cultures, different countries have different thoughts on human life.
Yeah.
Anyway, not to go in a dark turn.
That is a dark turn. That is dark.
I hope we don't see a dark turn of events like that. But I think it could get pretty bad.
Well, I think that the one at the top is definitely in danger of, how'd you put it? Get disappeared.
Disappeared, yeah.
That's a new term that I'm going to say. Get disappeared.
I'm going to butcher this, but like when I was in college, it was like a anthropology class, but they're like, it wasn't El Salvador or Colombia. It's one of those South American countries where it might have been Argentina, where they had so many disappearances, like disappeared became like a word. Like
wow.
It was a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I forgot what country it is, but it's
Don't get disappeared.
Yeah, it became a thing because the government disappeared so many people.
It's just mind-blowing.
It is.
It's mind-blowing.
Hi.
Anyways,
yeah, right.
I know.
Like
now
for our uplifting, yeah.
Yeah, it's if you have any comments on this, it'd be great to start a conversation with lots of people.
Yeah, we'd love to hear what you have to, any take whatsoever. If you've got family over there, like what are they saying? You know,
yeah, is he coming up with his $85 million tomorrow in interest payments?
Do they think the government's going to bail him out?
If he defaults, is the government going to bail him out?
what are they saying? So
if the government does bail him out, what happens to him?
I don't know. That's so depressing to think about. Anyway, but if y'all have any opinions that y'all want to share, we'd love to hear it. We'd like to have a conversation. This is pretty big stuff, kind of earth.
And it could have
shattering.
implications for everybody around the globe.
Absolutely. I mean, it will, to some extent or another.
Absolutely.
It will. You know, it's going to affect us some way, shape, or form. But if y'all do, you know, go ahead, drop your comments. Let us know you were here. And thanks for tuning in. I'm Jer'Leigh Thompson with Texel Real Estate and Real Estate Reformation.
And I'm Kristen Gerst with Capricorn Mortgage. Send me your owner finance mortgage notes, and don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on all of our social media.
Thanks, you guys.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.